Nobody's talking about this, but we might be witnessing the most pivotal moment of the Mike Macdonald era in Seattle. I'm Ethan Carter, and what went down at Seahawks training camp today feels small right now, but it could explode into something massive in the coming weeks. There's a rookie silently taking over, another who didn't even show up, two elite pass rushers who could become trade targets, and a familiar face who might be saying goodbye. Four pieces, four stories, one dilemma. Who will truly carry this team in 2025 and who's going to be left behind? Before we dive into all the latest Seahawks intel from this Wednesday, a quick favor from me. If you're a regular Seahawks Insider Report viewer and you dig our analysis, please hit that subscribe button. It's huge for the channel and for our Seahawks fan community to keep growing. Thanks so much for your support. Have you ever seen a seventh-rounder dominate training camp so intensely that he starts making even the vets uncomfortable? Well, his name is Ricky White III, and if you haven't memorized it yet, now's the time. The UNLV kid didn't just come to be another body on the roster. He's making noise, and it's not just because he's the first player drafted from that university since 2010. What's really catching eyes is the level of versatility he's showing in practice, especially in special teams drills. According to reports from the Seattle Times, the Seahawks staff is enamored with White's all-around ability in those units, and that's no exaggeration. The kid covers punts, returns, blocks, he's a gunner. He's like a Swiss Army knife in cleats, and in a league where the margin to make the roster is razor thin, he's excelling where it matters most, where few want to play, and where the survival of the last names on the 53-man roster is decided. This spring, White was already practicing with the backup offensive units, but now with camp heating up and pads coming on, the expectation is to see if he can translate all that to the real game. And honestly, from what we've seen so far, it's hard to imagine Pete Carroll, or rather Mike Macdonald, letting go of this type of player. White was named Mountain West Conference Special Teams Player of the Year, and unlike most prospects, he doesn't shine with just one attribute. Is he fast? Yes. Smart? Absolutely. But what's most impressive is that he understands when to be aggressive and when to rein it in, a maturity you don't expect from someone drafted so late. And here's where the inevitable comparison to other names who've been through this in Seattle comes in. Remember Ricardo Lockett? A guy who started as a wide receiver but solidified himself on special teams, became a fundamental piece until a brutal injury cut it short. The difference is that White arrives even more prepared and with a higher technical ceiling. Could he repeat that trajectory or even surpass it? It's possible, but the most uncomfortable question is, if White shines, who's out? Because for him to make it, someone has to go. And that's where things start to get serious, especially among the wide receivers at the bottom of the depth chart and the mediocre special teamers who aren't delivering half of what the rookie has already shown. But this battle for space has an extra layer of drama when one of the most anticipated names simply doesn't show up. Gone. Vanished. A no-show. And we're not talking about some random UDFA. We're talking about second-rounder Nick Emmen Worry, the guy many fans were already calling the new Kyle Hamilton after the Combine. The problem? He didn't show up on the first day of Seahawks rookie report. No sign, no public explanation, and worse, he's not alone. The tight end also drafted in the second round, Elijah Arroyo, was also a no-show. But it's Emmen Worry who carries the weight of the bomb, because his absence isn't just about him. It's the fuse of a crisis that's exploding across the entire NFL. What happened? Simple. Two players, the Browns linebacker and the Texans wide receiver, kicked the door open by getting 100% guaranteed contracts in the second round, something unthinkable until 2025. And now, the other 30 players drafted in that round, including Emmen Worry, are refusing to sign their contracts. The result, a silent standoff that's already scaring executives, agents, and fans. But there's a detail that puts even more pressure on the Seattle rookie's shoulders. He was the third pick in the second round. In other words, he's the first name in line who still hasn't finalized a deal with the team. He has officially become the trigger man, the guy who will determine if the league sets a new precedent or slams the door in the face of an entire generation. Can you feel the weight of responsibility this kid is carrying before he even puts on a helmet? If Emmen Worry can squeeze a guaranteed contract out of the Seahawks, the rest of the second round will gain leverage. But if John Schneider stands firm, it could put the rookie in an unsustainable situation with the fans, with his teammates, with the locker room itself. His absence on this first day, even though the main camp doesn't start until the 23rd, is a message, a political move, a test of strength between player and organization. And the truth? Neither side can afford to lose. Emmen Worry is an essential piece for McDonald's defensive rotation. His versatility, range, and game awareness would immediately make him a starter candidate, or, at minimum, a third safety, in a scheme that values hybrid DBs. But what if he decides to push too hard? What if this turns into a weeks-long saga? Worse still, what if this saga affects the locker room atmosphere right in the new coach's first training camp? The situation is delicate, tense, and still unfolding. But while Emmen Worry negotiates in the dark, there's an executive in Seattle looking for another kind of solution, one that could transform the defense overnight. What if I told you the Seahawks are one phone call away from having the best pass-rushing duo in the NFL? Sounds like an exaggeration. Just wait until you understand what's happening behind the scenes. The conversation now revolves around two names that need no introduction, Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt. Yes, you read that right. The same TJ Watt, multiple-time All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year, owner of one of the most dominant careers of the last decade. He is, at this very moment, being considered as a trade piece by the Steelers, and the Seahawks, with nearly $31 million in cap space in 2025 and over $55 million in 2026, have the firepower to get into this fight. The reason behind all this? Watt wants a new contract, and with the Steelers among the 5 worst in salary cap space, the impasse has begun. The player is entering the final year of a $112 million deal, and by the end of 2025, he'll be 31 years old. Sounds old? Not for a guy who's still delivering elite production even as the clock ticks louder. Now think about this. Imagine a front with Watt and Boy Maffey on one side, Hall and Nwosu rotating on the other. That's a nightmare for any NFC quarterback. And what's more, it's not just Watt. Hendrickson from the Bengals is also unhappy and is another name being considered. The issue here is ambition. Seattle has been building a deep, young defense, but still without an anchor. And when you look at recent history, remember when Cliff Avril arrived in 2013 or when Michael Bennett came from Tampa Bay? Nobody gave them a chance. But it was those veteran pieces that catalyzed the Legion of Boom. The difference now is that Watt already arrives as a legend. He doesn't need to prove anything, but Seattle can offer him what Pittsburgh might no longer want: relevance, space, and cash. Of course, all of this depends on how much the Seahawks would be willing to give up in a trade. But the truth is, this window is open, and NFL history shows the big moves happen in training camp. Unhappy players emerge, teams make adjustments, and high-risk decisions are made to try and win now. Seahawks fans have to ask themselves, is it worth betting big on a veteran to try and fly higher in 2025? Or is it better to trust the natural evolution of the defense we have? The dilemma is real, but it connects with another equally complicated and painful debate: what to do with a declining star who's given everything to this offense. It might sting, but it's time to face it. Kenneth Walker III may have already given the Seahawks everything he had, and now it's time to turn the page. 3 years ago, he arrived as that explosive, decisive running back, a Pro Bowl promise, and he delivered. Over 1,000 yards as a rookie, 9 touchdowns, runs that made the stands erupt. But time passed, injuries arrived, production dropped. In 2024, he only had 573 yards in 11 games. And worse, with less efficiency each season. Meanwhile, Zach Charbonnet, drafted in 2023, showed more consistency and finished the year with a better average per carry. And if that already cast a shadow over Walker, what about now with Damian Martinez, a 7th rounder who's surprising in camp, arriving as a potential steal? It's in this context that the Bleacher Report's proposal hits hard. trade Walker before the season while he still has market value and extract some draft capital before he becomes nothing. It seems radical, but think about it. Walker is entering the final year of his contract. If the front office already knows they won't re-sign him, and all signs point to that, why not get something in return instead of letting him walk for free? The idea, of course, is divisive because Walker, even in decline, is still the player who led the team in touches last year. He's still the most recognizable name in the running back room. He still has respect in the locker room. But if Mike Macdonald's new offensive plan is to modernize the run game, prioritize versatile backs with more reading ability and less physical wear and tear, perhaps Walker no longer fits the profile. Charbonnet is more tactical, Martinez is more physical, McIntosh is faster. Each delivers something the former Michigan State star no longer delivers with the same intensity. And the detail few people remember, Walker missed games due to 3 different injuries in 2024. When he played, he was rarely 100%. That affects production, that affects confidence, and that weighs heavily when the front office decides what to do. The safest option: wait until the NFL trade deadline, around mid-season, see if the team will be fighting for playoffs. If not, trading Walker for picks becomes a logical move. But if we're dreaming of January, it might be worth keeping him as a supporting piece, even if he's living his final months in Seattle. And there, my friend, enters the emotional factor. Because seeing a talent like that leave is tough, but ignoring the signs and repeating past mistakes is even worse. The question remains, will John Schneider act with his heart or with a calculator? This isn't just another training camp. It's a disguised battlefield where promises are born, contracts explode, and idols silently slip out the back door. Every choice made now carries the weight of a legacy. Every absence, every whispered rumor behind the scenes can shape the soul of this team, and fans feel it in their gut, in their chest, in their memory. The rebuild is over. Now it's about identity, about courage, about who will be remembered when the storm passes. Like the discussion? Drop your take in the comments because around here it's like the old kingdom, only true fans, hot debates, and no filter.